So let's start with our focus statement this morning, shall we? All the V's, okay? Here we go. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. I like the slideshow. I like the sparkly It's very dynamic, just like us. All right, cool. So this year here at Centers for Spiritual Living, we are working with the focus of 2020 spiritual vision. And many of you have your journals. I've seen them. Excuse me, I'm going to have to... I don't know if that did it or not. We'll find out. I see that you have your journals. That's wonderful. So this month we are working with the themes here at Centers for Spiritual Living called All the Colors of Love. And today's talk title, if you were to look in that, it would be The Body is Not an Apology. Okay? And the beloved Sonia Renee Taylor, who wrote a book by the same title and has created an entire body of works by the same title, contacted the organization and said, hey, I really appreciate you wanting to highlight my work and lift my work, but the name is trademarked, so if you could change it, we'd all be cool. And we're like, we can do that. So today, here, the title is Every Body is Beautiful. Works for me? Works for you? All right, cool. Hi. All right, so everybody is beautiful, and I love the graphic here. Look at how many fun bodies we have there. All the different bodies. Isn't that wonderful? Because every body and everybody is beautiful. What a great idea to explore this week. Would you agree? Yes. All right. So where to start? At the very beginning, perhaps, but that's a little too far back. So if we think of the teaching symbol up here behind me that's been hanging there now for a year, thank you very much. If you think of that teaching symbol that's up there, at the very top of the teaching symbol, we have what we refer to as spirit, right? That top part of the bar, above the bar is spirit, and then in the middle is what we would refer to as mind or soul or the law or the creative medium, and then the very bottom of it is called body, what we refer to as body or form or effect. And what we know, because there's the whole circle, is that the whole circle is the divine. These are three aspects of the divine, but the whole circle itself is the divine. So therefore, spirit, mind, and body are all part of the divine. They are all aspects of the divine, and all of it is the divine itself, because there is only one, right? Because there's only one. So body is sacred and holy, just as we would think of mind being sacred or holy, or spirit as being sacred and holy. The body is this wonderful, amazing creation that allows spirit to walk on the earth in this way. And it allows not only spirit, but allows consciousness, spirit as consciousness, to take form and to interact and to have wonderful experiences. We are a spiritual being having a spiritual experience on this plane of existence. How cool is that, right? People say, well, I'm a human being having a spiritual experience. No, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. No, you're a spiritual being having a spiritual experience, because it's all spiritual. We sometimes want to look at it and try to separate it as being separate things, but really it is all the movement of spirit. It is all the expression of spirit, regardless of what we call it. And so these bodies that we inhabit, somebody earlier called it my earth suit, or somebody else said a meat suit, right? You know, if you're vegan, I don't know. It's still flesh and bone here. We're not eating it, right? So, but it's our way of the ocean, if you will, the salt water and the air getting up and walking on Earth, on the planet, right? How fantastic this thing is. And when we think about it, as Constance mentioned, that every cell, every fiber, every muscle, every organ, every system is infused with the divine because it is the divine made manifest. And when we really think about truly the miracle that our bodies are, and we think about the physicality and what has to happen in order just to be able to open your eyes in the morning, how amazing that is, that we have thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of blood vessels. Thousands of miles of blood vessels. Thousands of miles of neurons. 212 bones. All kinds of muscles to move and organs. And we don't really need to take thought for their functioning. They just function. And the amount of chemicals and the chemistry that has to happen in order for our body to function. And in order for our body to digest and our blood to circulate, and the electricity that has to be there to pump our hearts and move, and the electrical synapses in our brains. You're a miracle. You are a walking miracle. I mean, think of the complexity of that. And so, to fathom that, and then to realize that all living creatures are this too, are an expression of the divine. The fly, the mosquito, still out on that one. Right? The ants, yes, maybe not on that one too. The bears and the dogs and the cats and the birds and trees and all of it is the divine made manifest. All of it, therefore, then, is the body, right? And without any one body, there is missing something in the integral whole, the complete and perfection that is the body. So our bodies themselves are what? Whole, perfect, and complete, just as they are. We don't need to do anything to them. We don't need to shape-shift, if you will, right? We can choose to experience our bodies differently, but our bodies as they are works of art. We refer to them as, in this faith tradition frequently, as the body temple. It's the body temple. This is the place where spirit lives. Love lives here. Spirit lives here. And so if it's my body temple, and then I think of it as like, this is my house of worship. This is my spiritual connection. This is my spiritual tool. This physicality. And so if I were to honor a house of worship by keeping it clean or by participating or honoring, then why not do that here too? That this is the divine. This is the house of the divine. Right? And so if I can honor this, then I also have the opportunity to see and look out and see the divine, the house of the divine in front of me, the body temple in front of me. And if it's the body temple, how could I judge it? This is the house of the divine. So who am I to say that the house, your body temple, should look a certain way? Who am I to judge what your body temple, how your body temple is shaped? The color on your head, if you have hair, or not. The size of your body temple, the color of your body temple, how you move your body temple, how you, as spirit, express through your body temple. That's not for me to say. If I'm truly seeing my neighbor and loving my neighbor as myself and loving the divine, loving God before all things, right? Then what is seated in front of me? Who is seated in front of me? Who's standing in front of me? Nobody else but God, but the divine. And I have the audacity to judge the divine? We have the audacity to say, oh, the divine has to look this way or that way? How misguided is that, right? It's kind of crazy when you think about it. In our society, though, as we've come into this plane of existence, which Ernest Holmes refers to the body as intelligence, that intelligence comes from the consciousness that permeates it, and it is the intelligence way and the way of the conscious or consciousness to express on this plane. So if we see this and we recognize this as a plane of on this third dimensional plane, if you will, and we're interacting with human beings, then what we see sometimes is we will frequently judge based solely on appearance. Part of this comes from a survival instinct. Do I eat it? Do I don't eat it? Do we procreate with it? Do we not? Is it going to kill me, or do I need to be worried, right? Or is it dangerous? So there's some of these parts that are part of our reptilian brain that look and see distinctions and try to sort things and try to arrange things. But I think in some ways, as a society, we have allowed our reptilian brain to go crazy, right? And so then we're judging. And society has this really interesting idea of what we define as beauty and as beautiful. What shape we are. What color we are. How long our hair is or how short our hair is. Whether we're athletic or supple. The word earlier today was Rubenesque. I like that. Right? When I think voluptuousness, I don't think, right? And we have this really kind of messed up sense of what we consider beautiful, that we are defining beauty in this way, but then we're defining morality in this way, and we're defining, they're not always the same. Right? That there is somehow in this country, well, not somehow, we know how, but there is this puritanical idea of modesty. And so our bodies then become this place of morality, this place of vulnerability, and this place of agency. Right? And there's this whole spectrum that somehow this is how we define beautiful, and this is how we define moral. And those two things they're not always the same. They sometimes feel like polar opposites. Well, what's a person to do? If I want to fit in over here, then I've got to do certain things to my face or my body so that I fit this idea. And yet, there's this morality piece here that says, oh, I have to behave in this way, and I can't go out of these norms. So where do we fall? Where do we find ourselves? How do we find ourselves? And I feel that this is really, guys, we have it, but really the women have it much more difficult time with this standard of beauty and this morality and this clash that we see going on in our society. Ladies? I got a yes from Michelle. She's videoing, so, but yeah. Right? So nowhere recently was this more apparent than last Sunday, the Super Bowl. Not the part where they're like throwing pigskin around, but the halftime show, where Shakira and J-Lo absolutely slayed, okay? Oh my God. Oh my God. They were amazing. How beautiful. They're in Miami, so Shakira comes out, "Hola, Miami!" Right? She's addressing her audience. She knows she's in Miami. She knows she's basically in the capital of Latin America. The unofficial capital of Latin America is Miami, the cultural capital. It's a blending pot. It's a melting pot. She knows. And there she is performing her heart out at 43 years old. There she is performing her heart out, coming to us through the magic of television, dancing and bringing us her Colombian culture and her Lebanese culture. Her parents are from Lebanon originally. All of the belly dancing, the zagorta, everything is all an expression of Arabic culture, sung in Spanish, with African Hispanic music being thrown or being molded and folded in, with reggaeton being folded in this glorious expression of a powerful, strong, unapologetic woman sharing culture and sharing who she is full out. And then after she moved off stage for a bit, then you had J-Lo. Hello. This Puerto Rican woman, this woman of Puerto Rican descent, raised in Bronx, New York, came out and sang her everything off. And the sheer athleticism and the strength and the power and the unapologetic and sharing the Latin culture as she interprets it, as she lives it, sharing that Latin culture through the entire thing. And the athleticism of her climbing that pole in 3 strides, wearing stilettos, and then holding it in a vice grip with her legs. Okay. You see the same thing at Cirque du Soleil. Same exact thing in Cirque du Soleil. Same exact thing. And yet, that's all the pearl clutchers we're talking about. It was such that part alone was just such an athletic display of divine femininity expressing itself through music and through art and through dance. And then not only did she do that, but then there were the children in what appeared to be cages, then singing Born in the USA, and the lights going behind J-Lo at the time, creating a fence. All of it was a symbol of children in cages at the border. All of it was the border here. Then she spread her arms with the beautiful Puerto Rican flag, and on the back side of that same thing, the back side of the Puerto Rican flag was the American flag, because you know why? Puerto Rico is part of the United States. And so there it was on full display, sharing culture, sharing ideas, calling out and drawing attention to the fact that Years later, after Hurricane Maria, they're still not back up to having the level of relief. They're still not back up to fully functioning. And then they've been hit by several earthquakes as well. And still, we're not helping. It was an amazing thing to watch this display of culture and this social demonstration, if you will. And then to have a few folks on Facebook say, oh, it was a missed opportunity. I can't believe what they were wearing. I can't believe this was a R-rated show in the middle of a G-rated football game. Forget the violence. Right? And that's, really that's what it boils down to, or not completely what it boils down to, but there is that aspect of it too, right? Is that what have we as a society determined to be okay? A woman, or two women in this case, and then two Latinx women in this case, with brown bodies, expressing themselves so fully, so unapologetically, so strongly, so completely in control of their body, their sexual being, and their sexuality, made people go crazy. Because when a woman is completely in control of her sexuality and her sexual being, she is a difficult woman to control. Patriarchy does not like that. And the patriarchy isn't only men, it's society. And so how amazing then, because there was this demonstration of strength that is different than the demonstration of the strength on the football field. There is a demonstration of athleticism, of beauty, of grace that is different from the athleticism, beauty, and grace that was on the football field. One we've deemed acceptable, and the other in our morality we've deemed not, in our puritanical ways. Because really, that's okay. A lot of circles, that would be sexual harassment. But it's okay for a man to reach his hands between another man's legs and give him a slight tap to receive that football. And then it's okay for everybody in the stands to scream, "Get him! Kill him!" Right? It's okay for a man to then experience concussions, but a woman on a pole during halftime, not okay. R-rated. Wow. We have a long way to go. Still. And then I also saw a few folks that were, they were so scantily dressed, and the male dancers behind them were fully dressed. So isn't that oppression too? I'm like, okay. And what I also would say is that Shakira and J-Lo are at a place in their careers and a place in the world where they have a lot, if not full, creative control as to what kind of image, because it was clear through the rest of it, the messages they were sending, that somehow this was not intentional too, right? What if they were there as a backdrop so it could feature the women, so that you could see the powerful women? fascinating. Because we tell women, we want you to be strong, we want you to be powerful, we want you to assert yourselves, we want you to take full control and responsibility for your lives and for your bodies, and we honor that. And at the same time, we say, no, you can't dress like that, because the men aren't dressed like that. Right? What is it to really empower or embolden? It's to give everybody the opportunity and the ability to express themselves fully and full out. And sometimes that looks like a cat suit, and sometimes that looks like a hijab, and sometimes that looks like a tuxedo, and sometimes that looks like baggy clothes. But if we're going to constantly try to hold people to these various standards, you can't. Which standards and which values are you going to hold them to? We are so misguided in that we think that this is okay to do. So there's this wonderful woman. I've already said her name once. It's Sonia Renee Taylor, and she wrote this beautiful book called The Body Is Not an Apology. The Body Is Not an Apology. And she expounds on it, and not only did she write this wonderful book, but she has a website, thebodyisnotanapology.com. I highly suggest you go to it. She also has this she's a spoken word artist and poet as well. She has this fantastic video on YouTube also called The Body Is Not an Apology. I highly suggest you go to it after you leave here. And see and experience. But what she says in this, and what she's sharing with us, is that the body itself is holy. The body itself is not an apology, and it's not just simply I'm saying I'm sorry, but it's living in an apologetic way, meaning living in a shameful way. Let me cover up, or let me expose, or let me try to seek approval, external approval. I'm always seeking this external approval, and so I make myself less than in somehow. I go, oh shucks, no, not me. Right? That somehow I withdraw, somehow I make myself less than. I apologize for my existence. But the body is the divine made manifest. The body is beautiful. Every body is beautiful. The black body is not an apology. The brown body is not an apology. The trans body is not an apology. The female body is not an apology. The fat body is not an apology. Our bodies are not apologies. They're beautiful, as I said at the beginning. So we have the opportunity then to lift them up, to celebrate them, to recognize that, oh, this is my body, this is my holy, high, holy temple. This is the place where love lives. And we start there because, as RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Right? So you start here. You start here, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Well, the way we've been treating each other really is a reflection of how we're really treating ourselves. We can do better. We are the divine made manifest. So it starts here. It starts within. It starts with that self-love. And if you can't get to self-love, then at least start by trying to forgive yourself. You wouldn't talk to the people the way you talk to yourself. A lot of us wouldn't necessarily talk to people the way we talk to ourselves. Right? If you wouldn't say it out loud to another human being, why would you ever say it to yourself? Right? Why would you say that about yourself? So start with gratitude for this beautiful creation. Gratitude for your ability to wake up in the morning, to open your eyes. Gratitude for all the synapses that make that happen. Gratitude for being able to move your body as you are able to move your body, in all its flexibility and in all its limitation. Gratitude for your heart, gratitude for your breath, gratitude for your digestion, gratitude for all of it. Begin by thanking it. Begin by saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you have an errant thought, forgive yourself. I'm sorry for having spoken to you that way. I'm sorry for not recognizing that my eyes are beautiful. I'm sorry I judged you so harshly. Start here. Start here. Because it's the only place to start. And breathe. And give thanks for it. Practice forgiveness. Practice gratitude. And this then begins to move us toward that self-love. That radical self-love. That then allows us to love one another. And so when we're out in the street and we see somebody who looks different from us, we have the opportunity to stop ourselves in mid-thought about, ooh, what is she wearing? We have our ability to stop ourselves there and go, oh, wait. I'm projecting my own insecurity, my own shame, my own self-loathing. Wait a minute. No, you're beautiful. And shift it. In that moment, we have the opportunity to shift it. Shift it within ourselves and shift it out there. Y'all are beautiful. Everybody is beautiful. You should look around and see what I see. Y'all are gorgeous. So I invite you this week to let your beauty shine. Allow your beauty to radiate through your body. Move, express, share, love as freely and as powerfully as you will. And so it is. Namaste.